I'm Betty Namwagala, working for the Uganda Coffee Federation.
My name is Simon Dutokirin. I work for USAID for the Future.
Hamish with ETG.
Thank you for the introduction. Well, our purpose here is to have a recap of what we discussed at one point of time. Of course, they are here together with other partners and be able to give us a solution for this. In anticipation of what we think is going to be a bigger or bumper harvest as predicted. Once this is done, the availability of many shipway containers is going to be not a problem in Kampala and Uganda at large. And so we have a situation where we need, on the other hand, we are pushing for bigger volumes to move out. And on the other hand, we have people taking advantage of stuffing contraband cargo into what we call coffee. So for me, that one is a challenge. But then, of course, we need to look at the bigger picture and say, okay, if this one is solved, then we also have, of course, definitely look for the other solutions as well. What we're saying is we're having a challenge of having containers that are bringing in cargo, which is imports, and is coming from Mombasa, and well, it is supposed to come, and somebody is saying, okay, it is in touch. For example, Mitsui containers, but coffee companies have clients who want to do with maybe PIL, maybe with the weight line, maybe again the seed, and they're in short supply. So our question is how do we move this coffee to Mombasa, yet we have, or we are stuck with containers that are not going to those particular ports or places. So what we are trying to think is, can we try to find a solution, or we're trying to find a solution so that the suitable containers that we have going to the destinations in Europe and various destinations are the real ones that you can have a chance of cross-staffing the cargo in Mombasa, so that the same can arrive in Kampala, that are available to our clients or to our people who are going to use them for finally staffing the coffee, and then can end up to the right destinations in Europe and other parts of the world. So we are looking at KPA giving us a hand in this, and we believe we're going to get a solution so that we find we get this sorted out. And then, as like I was pointing out, we have already got an indication from UCDA and from UCTF that this is going to be a bumper harvest. So we wouldn't want to let down our clients. We really want to think that by the time orders start flowing in, we're all well equipped and ready to serve them. So that would mean we have the right units at the right time, so that we're able to do business.
We are discussing some of the issues with some of our fellows in Mombasa. And I'm looking at the whole process, from point A up to the last point. What we have realized is the major problem that for the time we have been around here is everyone prefers the 20-foot containers to do coffee. Currently, we already have issues with shipping lines at ministerial level here. And they're trying to solve so many other issues. From my take on these issues, what I was looking at is the problem that I foresee here is we need to now to come out and say which companies have joint slots or slot sharing between shipping lines. Yeah? Those are the ones at least that can assist us for the time being. The other thing is cross-staffing within the port of Mombasa. There are circumstances which it is allowed to be done. But for us, we are looking at it from the export point, whereby if somebody has got a container and it misses the nominated ship, yeah? Yes. And you've got another ship in Mombasa that can do the cross-staffing, we will do it for you. Depending on the time schedule you tell us. If you tell us, let's say around now, when the shift is ending, you'll have to be put into the next shift. So at worst, it's about 15 hours, because the other guys the problem you have is having the containers in Kampala. not in Mombasa. Yeah. The cross-staffing seems to be done in Mombasa, but the target area is Kampala. Yeah? Now the issue here is we as a port we don't have, but the problem is coming from the revenue bodies. Yes? The revenue bodies, I would have thought personally, they should have been more strict with the export containers because coffee is given preference by us at the port of Mombasa. Yeah? And this is why we have people targeting it for contraband. So if we are going to say we want to cross-staff these consignments in Mombasa dedicated for coffee, I think then we should have we have our lady from URA. So the issue now is the coffee sector is feeling they're going to be restricted in terms of having the proper investigation. The issue is they are not allowed to do cross-staffing within Mombasa. They wanted the 20-foot containers, let's say because a shipping line does not operate here or they do not have slots within the shipping line. So if you bring the whole container here, and then they have a problem getting the container that coffee, and they've already identified. We are looking at a situation whereby how can we help the export business here survive in terms of dwell time, lead time, efficiency, because some of these items will have to go in Europe in terms of they have contract obligations in terms of how much they should sell, what type of quality should be there by then. These are the issues they are looking at. So they are looking at how can now KRA, URA, KPA look at the issues of trying to control certain things, but not at the expense of making the business better. We don't want to be an import-oriented country or region. We want to enhance export business, put more value addition in our products. So those are the issues that we like to help each other.
I think what we discussed in the first UCDA meeting, I don't know if everyone was here, but what was discussed was import cargo that was coming from the Far East, rice, sugar, in containers like peel, stew, whatever, was coming to Mombasa. The cross-staffing was not supposed to be done in the port. We were supposed to designate ICDs where these imports would go with these peel containers, stew containers, and then in these designated ICDs, Bolloré, Spiff, we get MSC containers, mask containers, wake containers that are seated in Mombasa, cross-staff the rice, sugar, these other items of imports into these containers of MSC wake, which are needed here, and they are the ones that are transported for the coffee export. The cross-staffing was not the coffee that we bring from here to be cross-staffed from drop of containers
at a policy level. We can fight it from here with URA. I can follow it up with the embassy, with the commercial attaché, so that we have these things looked at a higher level. Because if we deal with this at this level, I mean, you're the guys in the field, you have the containers, you can tell me what are your challenges if we go that way. Because let's say if Mask does not have a sharing code with PIL, we have a problem. But if you know certain shipping lines have a cross-sharing of slots, let's say we have identified these 10 containers, we are cross-staffing them because we want Kampala to load coffee. I think that is one solution. We have to identify them in advance. There's another thing, the shipping lines which are not even represented here. Some shipping lines are probably more flexible than others. So we need to identify the shipping lines. They tell us we can have a code share with this consignment. The second thing is we need now to look at the consignee might not know the container you're going to give him. Probably us as the forwarders, we now have to look within our itinerary or within our inventory. What do we have that we can share within the shipping lines. At the same time, we advise the revenue bodies. We have these consignments, we want to strip them so that we have identified these containers to do the stripping of coffee or the stuffing of coffee in Kampala. If you tell them in advance, and those are the same things, and we work on the point of it is trust. No business can work without trust. We work on that and we prove that there will be measures to make sure nothing is done the other way around and their concerns are taken care of. I don't see it will be a
We were trying to think ahead of time. If you said last season you had clients who did maybe 80% work, why don't you plan in advance and say, let us agree and have at least enough work stock so that by the time the clients post the orders, you already have the units and you don't have again to say, let's get the containers here. So we already have the containers and you cut down on the time.
Now, shipping lines keep containers here. This is projection. Mention lines very critically. A shipping line will keep your containers for 1 month if they are 100% sure that after that 1 month they're going to get covered. Because remember, sometimes when these containers go to Mombasa, they are shipped to China empty. 3 or 4. I mean, it's a child. They will load them and go. So, if we want to have the containers in Kampala, in Kenya or within the region, then we have to have projection. If we are going to, we need to give them, because they're going to pay storage for it in the yard for as long as we need them. We also need to realize that now, like he said, imports are low. We all know forward that the imports are now very low. So before it was easy because imports would be bringing the containers in and they would be in circulation because, but now the imports are low and I don't think in the next 6 months that the imports are going to pick up. But if you have the statistics, you know the shipping lines that ply the routes where you want to export the coffee, then get your statistics, get your projections. They are very much interested. Let them know how to plan the equipment.
We have the statistics in kilograms, but you can get that in terms of containers. Then it makes Uganda Coffee tell you they do 100 containers every month for the next 6 months. And then somebody else like Job Coffee tells you, Chalagani tell you we're doing this amount. Then we just tell these guys, these are projections and we expect this amount of containers. Preferably on a cycle of every 2 months or every 1 or 2 weeks, we're expecting we need 50 or 100 containers.
In fact, in shipping,
I would like to escalate some of these issues to the relevant parties. Okay, for this forum, all of you are here. We are going to have, we're having a function, the hotel management, somewhat Friday of 13th November. Yeah. And we might have some of these guys coming in from, let's say, from the police in terms of safety. The guys who are coming will also have the Kenya police coming in. I hope they've confirmed at the highest level. So some of these issues, I think if we give them a chance to, though it is just a dinner, it's not a forum where we're going to have a question and answer.
What's wrong with
But
Carbotaging?
you find them
Because the shipping lines, they've come up with Carbotaging, but still they are not able to cabotage because it's at their cost.
But it's easier to cabotage if you talk to the shipping lines. In my opinion, cabotaging, you don't touch anybody's cargo. The exporter is happy that they're staffing from Kampala, they're comfortable with what they're doing. Even the importer is comfortable that their cargo has reached safely. But I believe that imports in Mombasa are many more than the ones that come in here. So what I'm thinking is, we need to talk to the shipping lines. We need to engage them and see how they can help. Because at the end of the day, when there's much more containers going out, they're also...
That comes back to the point he said. No shipping line is willing to pay when they are not sure that these containers will be used back as export without projection.
Last week I sent to Ocean Pointe. My questions are for all here. Wake has my projections. Yeah, the people now telling us to come and lobby because they're having problems in Mombasa. We are now paying pickup fee in Kampala, $50.
$50.
That pickup fee is part of the cabotage cost. They are willing to pay the other half, but they are having problems now in Mombasa. Mombasa is not allowing them to use the shipping line boxes to come to Kampala, to cabotage these boxes to Kampala. For them, they are already, I think, they have been doing it in the past, but now we are having the problem.
We now have to put forward a situation whereby the revenue bodies have to see what is their loss if we go the other way around. It's a give and take situation. If you show them, if you're going this way, we are losing this much of amount of money. This is what the economy is losing. Yeah? This is the efficiency that we are looking for. We are losing. As it is already put scanning of containers at point A and at point B. That's already maybe a delay.
We have I think as well to consider is that it's a case-by-case basis, because we're constantly seeing what cargo we have every day, and we've got the pipeline shipments, and that depends on our clients, which shipping lines they're using. So it's a full circle, isn't it? What we've got coming in, and then we can do a request on a case-by-case basis. But it's very difficult to say, well, this is how it's going to work for the next 6 months, and it covers all of these lines. But we can certainly try to narrow down what is the preference, and agree today on where we see we can see this getting through the hoops, as it were, and making it actually possible. But I definitely think it's worth coordinating it, because if you're trying to do it on your own, it's very difficult.
I want to talk to Mark. Okay? After this meeting or tomorrow morning, first thing, I'll talk to Mark, MSC, Red Line, South Marine. These are the preferences you have.
So far, like I
So far.
major.
Those are the ones. And I talk them about your issue. Okay? If they will need time to sit with some of us, we can organize a meeting with them, and we just okay, let's meet, sort it out. Definitely, I bet you will be a coffee lady. Just roughly look at the measurements. Yeah. So if you get those items coming in, then you have a preference of what type of shipping lines you are dealing with. Yes. But now it means us sitting there down with them. But I'm looking at, if right now we are going into election, everything seems slow coming in. As we talk right now, roughly, if let's say we were to give a poll to Damco or anyone, how many empties do we have right now in the market? For me, right now what I want to do is, I can't jump through their heads in Kenya.
Absolutely.
If I have not told them, the person here is not done it. Yeah? So I want to start with them. They tell me we have, because we called them. My colleague Yvonne called them and asked them, do you have 20-foot containers? Are you sure? They said we have a lot. Everyone wanted statistics for how many they have. You see? But some of this information I'll have to get it through, let's say, the back door. Yeah? Because I know Adnan, we get along, just give me this, I will use it. But if I can't maybe officially, none of you will give me. We all know what happens. Yeah? So I'll talk to them first. But the other thing that I will do, I will talk to the Kenya Ship Agents Executive Director, the one who comes to the meetings in Mombasa, and he answers for the region. Because even him was asking, when you had the presidents here, and guys were complaining about the charges, he wanted documentation. Sorry to tell you this, he stayed at the hotel the next 2 days, he didn't get anyone to come give him that document. Any complaints to me. Yeah? So this is what he's saying. You complain, but there is no proof. It is difficult for him to go forward with your. Yeah? He can't even put more pressure on the principals.
What about the safety of our goods, assuming the cross-stuffing takes place? The reason I asked this is just this morning for us, one of our containers underwent 100% verification within the port in Mombasa. we were informed by the buyer that 100 bags of coffee went missing after the verification, which is within KPA control. So what happens in the case of cross-stuffing, and who guarantees the shipper? Again, if we were to push an agenda of this nature, we would also want that sort of the level of sort of comfort that comes in from
But
KPA.
when you have that, usually KRA is present, our security guys are present, all the bodies which are involved should be present. So if anything was to happen, the insurance department, the claims department will be notified. The agent who does that for you will have to put a case.
I think on that note, we need to also bring in the issue of the theft of coffee, which is in transit. I was talking about coffee theft in Mombasa, but there's still more, which is being stolen within transit before Mombasa. We don't know whether it is the Uganda side or Kenyan side, but sometimes when people at the port of at Malaba border post will tell you that we usually check the coffee and it is fine. And they usually tell us that the thefts usually take place in Kenya, at the Kenyan side. So we don't know where actually that coffee is stolen. And this is now Sudan. They are also having the same issue. Coffee is being stolen just from here to Mombasa to the port of Sudan. They are also losing their coffee, so much of it. So we need to also find a solution. Okay, maybe to find devise workable solutions.
That's what we look into it.
Because the claim is fine, you have an insurance company backing it, but do we want to get into a situation where we're dealing with claims repeatedly? Right? So
We don't like
that's
to
one of the
go,
main things,
because for us, we have now CCTVs and everything. So guys probably will also lose their jobs.
Sure.
It is that bad right now. The things of claims, and it is something that is even taken at the highest level. You know, it's good to give with facts. And then they can follow up, and then they start seeing if there's a trend, there's a particular group of forwarders, or certain shipping lanes, or certain transporters, or certain dealers.
Theft of coffee. Robert, we discussed the issue of the coffee cases with multiple the other time. They were rampant. Every other day there was coffee being stolen. And then you go to insurance, maybe this one has given you 2 containers and you've not taken insurance, and you've also not taken insurance, and it becomes a chase. Now, we brought a tracking system over and above URA tracking system. They put an office, they put a monitor, they put a limit, a speed governor in the trucks. Theft dropped. Do you understand? Did it cost us so much? Do we charge plants a lot more than we're charging them? No. But because there was a lot of pressure, the transporter sat down, said, how do I solve this? And they did it. They also had convoys, cars like he said, that would follow these trucks, for specific cargo. So the more we engage these people, the more they become very aware, and the more they put those measures in place. Instead of waiting for 100 containers of coffee to be stolen,